Okay, perfect timing. Perfect timing. Hopefully everybody can see me okay and can hear me okay. Let me turn on the chat here, the comments. Good morning, Christine. My love. All right. So, good morning, everybody. I am Dr. Jeff Evenson. I'm a board certified doctor of holistic health, streaming to you live this Saturday in northern Minnesota, where I'm not sure the winter wants to let go, but it's been cold and chilly. I am not a medical doctor. I practice, I have a holistic practice here called Evenson Holistic Natural Healing Center. And yeah, I don't practice medicine. Instead, I actually help people get well without drugs or surgery. Okay. It's been the week, I don't know for you guys, it's been an interesting week for me. Major resets happening in my energy systems and all that. Last weekend, as you know, I did not stream the show. I was actually out sick, had a fever and all that kind of stuff. Not sure what that was about. But yes, even holistic practitioners get sick. And I got through that. Then I had some more tattoo work done on my shoulder and my chest. And then a couple days after that, I ended up having some pretty urgent dental surgery because one of my dental implant one of my tooth fell out. It just dropped out, dropped out of the socket. So I had to go and get that all cleaned up and fixed and stitched up. And so that was the week. All of that kind of took a toll on my system, but I'm glad to be back at the show. This weekend, today is going to be catch-up day in terms of yard workup. You know, the weather has been cold and chilly, doesn't necessarily want to let go into the warmer weather, but yet it's warm enough for the grass to grow, and because I couldn't get after it last weekend, it's a little long in some areas. You know how lawns always, when they first reemerge, you have some areas that are go-getters and other areas that they're not so deep in the grass. But I'm getting a little jungly out there, so I probably will have to cut that this weekend, which is fine. I don't mind cutting the grass. So I have a good lineup for you today. You know, a lot of people well, I've been doing this now over 17 years, okay? And every once in a while the questions it goes in cycles on, you know, I'm talking functional nutrition here with people, helping them learn how to eat again. And one of the tools that I use, and I often get asked about it, is that with fasting. Okay. So we're going to dive into fasting today. And I've got some stories that go along with that, but it can be a really powerful tool when used right. It can also be a powerful tool when used wrong, in terms of how quickly you can actually cause more harm in your system and in your process than you think is happening. And so buckle in, you know, let's dive into it. If you are joining the show, throw in the comments where you're watching from. It's always fun. You guys hear me, my regulars hear me say this every week. It's always fun to see where people are watching from. I know Christine is in Indiana. She has already said good morning. And there are others on the live stream and whatnot. I'm also going to invite you, if you are on the profile, I'm going to point out, hi, Janae from McGregor. That's north of here. Um, I'm gonna. Hey Tracy, good to see you. Tracy's down in Chicagoland. Um, so I want to invite you. You know, if you're looking for regular, daily, sometimes almost daily content, follow my personal profile on Facebook. Okay, I had to set myself up as a content creator, so because the Facebook algorithms are geared toward work following people with personal on the personal profile side as opposed to following business side. You know, so I do have a business page out there. Some of you are tuned in through that because I stream at both places. But jump over, you know, and if you're there for the first time, hit like or follow. I really appreciate it. So let's get into it. You know, good morning. Welcome back to Morning Coffee with me, with Doc Jeff. Morning Coffee with Doc Jeff. Go ahead and grab your cup, pull up a chair, and settle in. Okay, this is a place where we're going to talk. We're going to talk real talk about root cause healing. You know, and I try to have a different topic every week, but we talk about root cause healing, calming the nervous system, breaking those heavy generational patterns that get passed down, and remembering that the cycle ends with you. Okay. The cycle ends with you. Nobody can do the work for you, but only you can do the work that you need to do to get your health back to where you want it. And so today we're stepping into a topic that comes up in my conversations and in the comments all the time, and that's fasting. Okay, not the flashy social media version, but honest, functional fasting that actually supports the body instead of punishing it. Okay. So a couple years back, I did something pretty bold. I joined Dr. Don Klum on a full 30-day water fast. Okay, 30 days with nothing but water. I dropped 37 pounds during that journey, and it turned out to be one of the most interesting, eye-opening experiences of my life. I don't know that I would ever do another 30-day fast. Um, but I know that I could do it if I needed to. Um, it during that time, it wasn't always comfortable, but it showed me in a powerful way what the human body is capable of when you give it the right conditions to heal. Okay. And before we before we dive in, I want to address something right up front because there's so many misconceptions floating around out there. A lot of people think they can just wake up one morning and drop straight into a long fast with zero preparation. Okay. They'll say, I'll just push through the hunger, they say. But that approach can backfire really hard. It can leave you really drained. It can leave you electrolyte imbalanced or even more stressed. Okay. Fasting is a skill. It's something you build. Okay. Just like any other tool in your healing toolbox. On the other side, I hear folks saying, well, the Bible talks about fasting, so I should just do what they did back then. And while there's beautiful wisdom and spiritual discipline in biblical fasting, our modern bodies are dealing with a very different environment. Okay? Processed foods, constant toxin exposure, nervous systems running on high alert, and metabolic systems that have never known true regulation. And so we can honor the spirit of those ancient practices, but we also need to be wise and practical in how we apply them today. And that's why Dr. Don Klum's approach has been so helpful for me and for so many others. He teaches insulin-friendly living, rotational fasting, and doing it in a way that builds resilience instead of breaking you down. Okay, so today we're going to walk through all the different types of fasting, the real benefits that you can expect, the honest drawbacks and cautions, and who this is great for and who needs to be extra careful. And most importantly, how to actually prepare so you set yourself up for success instead of struggle. Okay, so there's a quick disclaimer, as always on the show. This is for education and inspiration only. It's not personalized medical advice. I don't give out medical advice. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a medical practitioner. So please listen closely to your own body, and if you have health conditions or take medications, work with a knowledgeable practitioner before making big changes. Okay? All right. So take a good sip of coffee with me and let's ease into this conversation together. Tracy just commented that she just finished a 3-day water fast. Good job, Tracy. So, first, let's clear the air on what fasting really is, okay? Because there's a world of difference between intentional fasting and just starving the body, okay? Dr. Klum puts it so well. Fasting is when you intentionally create a physiological state where your body flips from constant growth and storage mode into deep repair and cleanup mode, okay? And that's where autophagy turns on. We'll talk more about autophagy. Cells start recycling damaged parts. Inflammation can quiet down. And real healing has room to happen. Okay? So let's talk about what fasting really is. Let's clear the air right now. Because there's a big difference between what we're talking about and just not eating. Okay? Again, fasting is an intentional physiological state where you give your body a break from constant digestion and food signals. When you do that, your body flips a switch. It moves out of growth and storage mode, the one we live in most of the time in our modern world, okay? The one we live in most of the time, and into repair. We move out of growth and storage mode into repair and cleanup mode. And that's where autophagy turns on. Your cells start recycling damaged parts, clearing out junk, and even building new, healthier cells. Insulin levels drop. Inflammation can calm down, and a whole cascade of healing processes gets room to work. Okay? It's not starvation. Starvation is uncontrolled and stressful, where fasting is controlled, purposeful, and when done right, deeply restorative. Okay? One of the things that I love about Dr. Klum's approach is he doesn't push one extreme method on everybody. He talks about functional fasting and rotational fasting, building it into your lifestyle in a smart, sustainable way instead of just doing one big heroic fast and then crashing back. Okay? That's what helped me prepare for and recover from that 30-day water fast that we did together. It was an incredible journey. So let me walk you through the main types of fasting so you can see where you might start or what might fit your life right now. Okay. So first off, there's time restricted eating or intermittent fasting. A lot of times people have heard the terms IF or I already forgot the acronym. It'll come up here later. It's right here. OMAD, 1 meal a day. Okay. But intermittent fasting is time restricted eating. This is the most beginner friendly that you can start with. You simply shorten your eating window. Okay. A 12-hour overnight fast is a gentle start. Finish dinner by 7 p.m. and don't eat again until 7 a.m. Okay. Then you can build to a 16-8, which is 16 hours fasting, 8-hour eating window. Okay, you see where I'm going here. Then you can move into an 18-6, which is 18 hours of fasting, 6-hour eating window. Okay, or you can even do an OMAD, which is 1 meal a day. This is fantastic for improving insulin sensitivity and giving your gut and nervous system a daily reset. A lot of people notice better energy and mental clarity just from this. So when you're doing the intermittent fasting or the time restricted eating, okay, great way to start. And I say, put yourself through the paces on these time windows, whether it's a 12 by 12, a 16 by 8, an 18-6, or the one meal a day. When you can get used to any of those cycles at any time, I'm saying don't do it every day. Just do one here, wait a week, do another one and maybe two that week, and just kind of build up. And when you get through all of those and you know that, hey, my body handles this well, then you can move on to the next one, which is an alternate day or a 5-2 style. This is where you eat normally one day and then either fully fast or heavily restrict calories down to like 500 to 800 the next day. Okay. And then Dr. Klum often uses rotational versions of this so it doesn't feel punishing. And then we can get into the extended water fasts. Okay. This is what I did with Dr. Klum, and I by no means suggest anybody do 30-day fasts. I can't think of a time in my practice where I would do a 30-day fast with any of my clients. Okay. It would never come up. Um, Not in the cases that I work with, but shorter fasts definitely can. Okay. Um, so yeah, Tracy's confirming she does a 24-hour fast weekly and a 3-day water fast once a month. That's a great rotation. Okay. So, and she says she feels so much better. Um, so then we get into the extended water fast, and this is what I did with Dr. Klum. This is the 3-day fast. You can do a 5-day fast, 7-day fast, up to 30 days with nothing but water. Okay. And and electrolytes, which are crucial. Okay. You have to, it's really advised that you keep the electrolytes. For the 30-day fast, my favorite electrolyte to use was LMNT. Okay. I could not have done that fast without using LMNT for the electrolytes. Okay. I went through 2 or 3 boxes because some days I was doing more than one packet a day just to keep my electrolytes up. When you go into the 3-day or the multi-day fast or the extended water fast, okay, these go deeper into autophagy and stem cell regeneration. Okay, they can be powerful for metabolic reset, but they're not where most people should begin. Okay. Hey, thanks Tracy for jumping on. And Dr. Klum's real specialty is the functional rotational fasting. This is a game changer for long-term success. You plan a calendar, mixing intermittent windows, pseudo fasting days, which are lower calories, nutrient dense days. You can do fasting mimicking protocols. You can do stretches of keto and occasional longer water fasts, but no 2 weeks look exactly the same. It keeps your body adapting and prevents adaptation plateaus. Okay. And this is really insulin friendly living in action. There are also fasting mimicking diets, which are low calorie plant based plans designed to mimic the effects of water fasting while still giving you some nutrients. There's, I think, a green drink that you can drink on those days. Um, it's not that tasty in my opinion, but it does work. Um, so but here's the thing, the key to all of these, preparation and listening to your body. Okay. You don't just wake up and decide to do a 30-day fast tomorrow. That's where a lot of people get into trouble. Okay. I'll tell you more about my 30-day journey how they went in a minute. But first, let's talk about why someone would even consider these different approaches, okay? The real benefits that show up when you do it wisely. So I do have a quick aside here because the topic brings out a lot of other voices. I've been focused on Dr. Don Clum's methodology and information because I know him. He's got some of the best information out there. You can find him on Facebook. Tell him I sent you. But there's other respected experts out there doing great work too. Okay, one of the books that I first read on fasting was by Dr. Jason Fung, Fung, and in there he's shown how intermittent and longer fasts can actually reverse type 2 diabetes and stubborn weight by lowering insulin. Okay, and then there's a Dr. Walter Longo out of USC developed the fasting mimicking diet with solid research behind that. And then Dr. Alan Goldhammer at True North has supervised thousands of extended water-only fasts with impressive clinical outcomes for chronic conditions. Okay. On the other side, the typical medical establishment has historically been cautious. Many conventional doctors still say just eat a balanced diet, exercise, and maybe try a little intermittent fasting. But they often warn against extended fasts without close medical supervision, citing the risks like electrolyte imbalances, nutrient deficiencies, or extra stress on the body. While some of those may be true in some cases, all of this can be done very wisely. Some newer studies even raise questions about potential heart or inflammation effects in certain people if it's not done carefully. Okay, so this is why I never suggest just jumping right into extended day fasts because you have to prepare. You've got to prep your body. Do the prep work. Here's where I land and why Dr. Clum's wisdom resonates so much with the work that we do here. The truth is somewhere in the middle of all that. Okay, the mainstream is finally warming up to the metabolic benefits of shorter fasts, but they're slower to embrace the deeper repair and nervous system friendly approaches that we tend to see in functional and rotational fasting. Okay, I believe we honor the science, respect the cautions, personalize it in our own bodies, and always tie it back to root cause healing and regulation. That's where the real lasting change happens. All right. So with that bigger picture in mind, let's talk about why someone would even consider these different approaches, the real benefits that show up when you do it wisely. Okay. We're going to go deep here on the real benefits. This is where it gets exciting, friends, because fasting isn't just about dropping weight or jumping on a trend. I see that so many times. I've had clients come in and say, "Hey, I started fasting and all that kind of stuff," and I'm like, "Why? We didn't talk about that. That's not part of your program, not part of the plan." And I take those moments as times to actually take time to educate with my clients, teach them. Okay. When you give your body these intentional windows of repair, especially through Dr. Clum's functional and rotational style, a whole cascade of healing kicks in at the cellular level. Okay. First and foremost, insulin sensitivity and metabolic reset. In our modern world, we're constantly grazing, spiking insulin all day long. That leads to insulin resistance. That leads to weight loss resistance, which leads to fatigue and brain fog, and eventually pre-diabetes or worse. Fasting drops insulin naturally and powerfully. Dr. Clum teaches that this is one of the fastest ways to reverse those metabolic pathways. Many people see blood sugar stabilize, energy return, and that stubborn fat, especially around the middle, start to release. Not because you're starving yourself, but because your body finally gets the signal to burn stored fuel instead of storing more. Now, I saw this in my own 30-day fast when I lost 37 pounds. And when I got done with that, the big question I had for myself is, why did I have 37 pounds to lose in the first place? Okay. I gained some of that back, of course, because you start taking nutrients in. Um, and I will say, I did make it for the 30 days, but that last week, people started to ask me if I was doing okay because I was starting to look a little, the color was starting to leave my face a little bit, and I was starting to get a little gaunt looking. Um, and and my energy admittedly was pretty starting to go pretty low, but I made it for the 30 days. You get that far in, and I had to let some of the stubbornness kick in because I didn't necessarily want to stop. I made it that far. I wanted to go 30 days. I think I actually went 31, but um it it was an experience. And in that time, I had, we'll talk more about it, but my relationship for food popped up front and center. It forced me to look at my relationship with food at that time. It was really interesting. I journaled the whole thing. I should go back and find that journal because I did journal every day um, on that. And I don't remember if I posted it. Maybe I'll go post, if I find it, I'll go post it out in my Substack channel. Because it's kind of interesting how what I was looking at every day. So 37 pounds gone, and it wasn't just water weight. Okay, a good portion was deep stored fat once my body fully adapted. Okay, your body stops burning glucose for energy and moves over into ketones. And you've heard of the ketogenic diet, and that's where your body is burning ketones instead of glucose for energy. To burn more glucose, to burn more ketones, your body has to mobilize the fat to convert that into ketones so you can have energy. Okay. So that really put me deep into the autophagy and cellular cleanup phase. And this was Dr. Klum's favorite part, and mine too. After about 16 to 24 hours without food, your cells switch into house cleaning mode. Okay. They start breaking down damaged proteins, dysfunctional mitochondria, and even precancerous or inflamed cells. Then use the parts to build new, healthy ones. It's like giving your body a full internal renovation. And longer fasts can go from 5 to 30 days. That takes that deeper. Okay, stem cell production ramps up. Immune system gets a reboot, and inflammation markers can drop significantly. Okay, and that's where a lot of my weight was. My system was really inflamed, and I was able to lose a lot of that inflammation. It settles it down. Imagine your intestines when you're constantly eating, especially when you're grazing and you have uh, bedtime snacks and all that kind of stuff before you go to bed. That puts your system into, it has to work while you're sleeping. Okay. And so I recommend often to my clients, don't eat anything 2 to 3 hours before bed. So you can let your insides settle down and rest as well. Okay. Because that doesn't just shut off while you go to sleep and turn back on when you wake up. That's not the magic of that digestive process. It's gonna go, oh, there's food here, I better digest. And so that takes energy and whatnot, and you're not giving your system a break. And so you imagine 30 days with no food at all in the digestive system, just water and electrolytes. Oh, my system was so happy in there. But I was also happy to reintroduce food. And we'll talk about how that goes later. Um, this is why when people do these longer fasts, they often report clearer skin, less joint pain, better digestion after a proper fast. Okay. Your nervous system gets a break too. Less constant digestion means more energy for regulation and repair. This ties straight into the work that we do here, calming the nervous system so real healing can stick. Then there's the hormonal balance and longevity. Okay. Fasting lowers IGF-1, that growth factor linked to faster aging when it stays high. It improves hormone sensitivity and supports thyroid and adrenal function when done rotationally instead of chronically. Dr. Walter Longo's work on fasting mimicking diets shows measurable drops in biological age markers. Dr. Jason Fung has documented reversal of type 2 diabetes in many patients, and Dr. Klum sees it clinically every day. People breaking free from the metabolic trap that gets passed down through families. All right, if you're just joining the show, drop in the comments where you might be watching from. Okay. So then there's the mental and emotional benefits. Okay, these things run deep too. Once you get past the initial adjustment, many people experience sharp mental clarity. We call it that fasting high, where the brain runs beautifully on ketones. This is largely why even today I still eat a carnivore diet, and I keep my body in ketosis because my brain is very clear when I can keep the carbs out. My sleep is generally pretty good when I keep the carbs out. Okay. Cravings and emotional eating patterns start to loosen their grip. You rebuild a healthier relationship with food. For a lot of us carrying generational cycles of using food to soothe stress or numb emotions, this becomes profoundly liberating. And I always encourage people to sit with a journal and journal about what comes up regarding their relationship with food. Because sometimes this is where you'll uncover, where did you learn these food behaviors, these food habits? When did you pick them up? What keeps driving you to have food? Let's say life is going really good. You want to celebrate, and everybody celebrates with food. Why is that? It all goes back to when we were children. I've talked about this before on the show. In our early days of learning relationships with food, is for me, I was told if you're a good boy, you can have a Hershey bar, or you can have that pop or soda. That was a reward. And so I've caught myself, I've had this epiphany when I was journaling, even when I'm working with my current fitness trainer, that I was still rewarding myself with food. Okay. Now, there's also that emotional side of it, the downside, I call it the downside, the comfort food, which for me, typically, if I'm sick, I tend to want to lean into the comfort food because it's easy and whatnot. But we can do this emotional eating when we get stressed out. It's like, oh, because it's the one thing we can control. That we think we can, that's all we can control. I can control the food coming in. Okay. It can be an addiction for some people, but fasting can raise these topics to the top where you can journal them and explore them with yourself and find out where things are hurting you and where things are helping you. Okay. Other bonuses that people notice is reduced overall inflammation, which can be huge for chronic conditions. Okay. They can also have better immune resilience. You can have improved gut health as the microbiome in your gut gets a reset. And then there's potential support for autoimmune conditions, heart health, and even brain protection against neurodegeneration. And yes, cost savings and simplicity, no fancy supplements or meals required during the fast itself. In my 30 days with Dr. Klum, the benefits went way beyond the 37 pounds. Energy stabilized after the first week or so. My mental fog lifted. I felt a deep sense of cellular renewal and resilience that carried over long after refeeding. It gave me proof in my own body that we're designed for these rhythms: feast and famine, growth and repair, not constant grazing. Our bodies are not designed for that. The constant grazing, and our society makes it so easy to do that. You can run up to the local grocery store, the local gas station, convenience mart. There's food. We're surrounded by shitty food everywhere, and it's easy to get our hands on it. I found for me, if I don't want to eat those foods, it's best I don't bring them into the house. Don't bring them in. Okay. But here's the key I want you to hear. These benefits show up most powerfully when fasting is prepared for and integrated into a full lifestyle. Clean eating, nervous system tools, movement, sleep, and that rotational approach Dr. Klum champions. One heroic fast won't undo years of imbalance if you go right back to old patterns. That's the hopeful part, friends. Your body wants to heal. It's remarkably intelligent when you give it the right conditions. Okay. Now, because I care about you doing this safely, let's talk honestly about the other side, the drawbacks, cautions, and who needs to be extra careful. Okay. As I said, your body wants to heal, and it's remarkably intelligent when you give it the right conditions. But there are drawbacks. Okay. We have to be honest about this side too, because fasting, especially longer or more intense versions, is a powerful tool, and powerful tools need respect. If we ignore the drawbacks or skip preparation, we can create more stress instead of healing. That's the opposite of what we're after here. Let's go deep on this so you can make wise decisions, okay? And I'll tell you, I have started fasts in the past where I'm doing just fine on day one, do just fine on day two, and something happened. I remember something was happening with me on day three. I started to get really weak and nauseous and dizzy. And when that happens, I immediately stopped the fast. I started to reintroduce food. Something was off in that fasting cycle for me, and I pulled the plug. And that's the beauty of it, is you have the option. It's like, whoa, something's off. I'm gonna just pull the plug. I'll regroup and go back. Go back to the basics. Maybe do the intermittent fasting and the time eating windows and all that. And I still to this day don't know what happened during that cycle. Okay. So the first is the initial adaptation phase is real. Okay. In the first 2 to 5 days, especially on extended water fasts, most people hit what Dr. Klum calls the hunger waves. Okay. You can get headaches, fatigue, dizziness, irritability, or even flu-like symptoms as your body shifts from burning sugar to burning fat. Okay. Not to mention we're starting a detox process. This is normal. It's withdrawal from constant glucose, and the detox process is kicking in. But it can feel pretty rough, I'm telling you, if you're not prepared. Your nervous system might feel extra sensitive because it's used to steady fuel. I know I've had times where I've gone into a multi-day fast, and I can get irritable during those first few days. Electrolyte imbalances are one of the biggest hidden risks. Okay, when you fast, especially beyond 24 to 48 hours, your kidneys flush more sodium, potassium, magnesium, and other minerals. So without proper supplementation like sea salt, magnesium, potassium-rich options under guidance, you can get heart palpitations, muscle cramps, weakness, or worse. Dr. Klum is very clear on this. Electrolytes are non-negotiable for safety. Earlier I mentioned LMNT. I'm not telling you those are the ones you have to use. You just have to use some electrolytes. Longer fasts carry deeper considerations. Okay. Muscle loss can happen if you're not already metabolically flexible, or if you stay in extended fasting too long without strength training or proper refeeding. Refeeding syndrome is rare, but it's serious. And what that is when you break a long fast, incorrectly with heavy carbs or large meals, it can crash electrolytes and stress the heart. That's why Dr. Klum emphasizes a slow, gentle refeed, bone broth, light soups, steamed veggies, then gradually back to normal. Scrambled eggs, almost like you think back to the days when you maybe had the flu and your mom would take care of you with really easy to digest foods. Okay. You want to start off easy. Hormonally, women especially need to be cautious. Extended fasting can disrupt menstrual cycles, can lower thyroid output temporarily, or stress adrenals if your nervous system is already dysregulated. That's why rotational and functional approaches are often safer long-term than repeated heroic water fasts. Now, let's talk honestly about who should be extra careful or avoid certain types altogether. Okay. First one is pregnant or breastfeeding women. Your body needs steady nourishment for 2 or more people. Don't fast. Anyone with a history of eating disorders. Fasting can trigger old patterns. So you want to be prepared for that. People with type 1 diabetes or on certain medications, especially blood sugar lowering drugs, blood pressure meds, or steroids, blood sugar and pressure can drop fast and you need medical supervision. And then underweight individuals or those with very low body fat should not fast. You can have severe adrenal fatigue, advanced chronic illness, or elderly folks without experienced guidance. Don't do fasting. And then children and teenagers. There's no need for them to fast. Their bodies are still growing. Okay? Even for healthy folks, jumping straight into a 30-day fast like I did is not a starting point. Trust me when I say this, I had already built fasting fitness through shorter windows and clean eating for years beforehand. That preparation made the difference. The mainstream cautions we touched on earlier are valid here too. They remind us that fasting isn't risk-free, especially without monitoring. But in my experience and what I see with my clients, most of these risks drop dramatically when you clean up your diet first. You remove the processed foods, the seed oils, the excess sugar. You build slowly with intermittent fasting. You support your nervous system with breath work, nature time, and regulation tools. You use proper electrolytes and hydration. And you have a clear refeed plan. This is where you listen to your body instead of pushing through the signals. Fasting should feel empowering, not like punishment. If it's creating more dysregulation, it's time to pause and regulate first. Remember, the goal isn't to prove how tough you are. It's to break the generational cycles of metabolic damage so your kids and grandkids don't inherit the same struggles. I went through some uncomfortable days in that 30-day fast, but because I prepared and had Dr. Klum's guidance, I came out stronger on the other side. So let's shift into the practical gold, okay? How to actually do this wisely, how I prepared for my 30 days, and simple steps that you can start with this week. Okay? This is, this is how to actually do it wisely. We're looking for the benefits without the pitfalls. Because knowledge is great, but application is where the healing happens. Okay? Dr. Klum's approach is my favorite here because it's not about one big dramatic fast. It's about building fasting fitness over time through functional and rotational patterns. Here's how we do it step by step. Step 1, preparation. This is 80% of success right here. Don't skip this. Spend at least 2 to 4 weeks cleaning up your diet first. Remove processed foods, seed oils, excess sugar, and ultra-processed carbs. Eat real, nutrient-dense food, plenty of protein, healthy fats, vegetables, and minerals. This lowers your insulin baseline and makes the transition into fasting much smoother. Okay? Support your nervous system and drainage pathways too. Gentle movement, good sleep, breath work or prayer, dry brushing, and hydration with electrolytes. Your body heals best when it's regulated, not in fight or flight. That's why we always circle back to nervous system work on the show. Step 2, start simple and build. Begin with 12-hour overnight fasts. Finish dinner by 7 p.m., wake up and have your first meal at 7 a.m. Once that feels easy, stretch to 14-10 and then 16-8. Play with one meal a day a couple days a week. This builds metabolic flexibility without the shock. For rotational fasting, Klum style, create a loose monthly calendar, maybe 5 days of normal eating, 2 days of 16-8 or 500 to 800 calorie pseudo fasting, or one 24 to 36 hour water fast and repeat. Mix in fasting mimicking days when you want deeper autophagy without full water only. That means the lower calorie. This keeps your body adapting instead of plateauing through. Okay. Step 3, during the fast, support is everything. Hydration. Half your body weight in ounces of water, a minimum. Electrolytes. Sea salt and water, magnesium glycinate or citrate, potassium from light salt or supplements. Get guidance on dosing. Rest. Do light walks but no heavy workouts the first few days. And listen, if you truly feel off, not just normal hunger waves, break the fast gently. Pride has no place here. Okay? So let's talk about breaking that fast. Step 4, breaking the fast, and this is critical. Even after 3 days, don't slam a big meal. Start with bone broth, then add soft veggies, light proteins, and work up over 1 to 2 days. Okay? After 30 days, go even slower. I eased in over almost a week as I reintroduced food into my system. Okay? So now let me tell you a little bit about my 30-day experience with Dr. Klum, because it really brought all this together. I had already been doing rotational fasting and clean eating for a while, so I was prepared. The first 4 to 5 days were the toughest. Hunger waves, some fatigue, a few headaches. I kept working out though. I kept going with my movement, and I did okay. But once I adapted around 6 to 7 days, something shifted. It's like pink, a light turns on. My energy stabilized, my mental clarity came on strong. You feel like you can focus your way through a wall. It's that clear. It was for me, anyways. By week 2 and 3, I felt surprisingly steady. I lost 37 pounds total, mostly fat, and noticed um, a lot of different improvements. My skin felt better, my joints felt better, had a deep sense of clarity throughout my whole body, and I think that's part of that cellular reset aspect. Okay, the biggest takeaway here, my relationship with food changed. I saw how much emotional and habitual eating had been running the show. Breaking that cycle gave me freedom that I didn't expect. And refeeding was careful and slow, and I kept most of the benefits long term by staying in a rotational pattern instead of going back to old ways. Okay. This was, when did I do this? 3 years ago now, 3 summers ago. Might have been even longer. But it wasn't magic, okay? It was giving my body the conditions that it needed. And it reinforced for me that the cycle ends with you. When you show your body and your family a different way of relating to food and rest, everything downstream changes. Okay? So, simple homework for you this week. Try a gentle 16-8 fast for the next 5 to 7 days. Okay? Journal your energy. What that means is you're creating an 8-hour eating window. So when I do a 16-8, sometimes that means I'll eat from 9 to 5. That's 8 hours, yeah. And or I'll shift it and go 10 to 6, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and only eat in that window. Okay, so do that. Journal your energy, your mood, your sleep, and cravings. Notice what shifts. And if you want to go deeper, pick one rotational day, like a dinner to dinner fast, okay? And support it well with electrolytes and nervous system tools. So, one of my asides here, this is where fasting gets really powerful. Um, I told you that we have a deep awareness around our relationship with food, okay? Most of us never realize how much our eating is driven by habit, emotion, reward, and comfort instead of actual hunger. How many times do you think, oh, I should eat? Is the next question, am I really hungry? And what I used to teach my clients when I first began as a practitioner in the beginning, I would insist people have to eat breakfast and all that kind of stuff and eat your 5 to 6 smaller meals a day. I went through that phase with people. Now I teach people eat when you're hungry. Okay. Are you really hungry? Just if you eat when you're hungry and then stop eating when you feel almost full, not full stuff to the gills, but when you feel like you've had enough. Okay. And that's it. But we eat when we're stressed, when we're bored, when we're sad, we're celebrating, or just because it's time. Oh, because it says noon, that means I should eat. No, if you're not hungry, don't eat. Okay. We use food to soothe our nervous system, to fill emotional voids, or because it's the generational pattern that we watch growing up. Food equals love. Okay. Or the clean your plate club. I used to hate that. And then eat your feelings. So during a fast, those patterns become loud and clear, and you feel the urge to eat when your body doesn't actually need fuel. And you notice the emotional waves, the anxiety that pops up at 3 p.m., the comfort seeking that hits when you're tired, the reward mentality after a hard day. That awareness is gold, and it gives you the space to choose differently instead of staying on autopilot. So, fasting shines a light on the cycles, the blood sugar roller coaster, the emotional eating loops, the way we've trained our bodies and minds to reach for food every time life feels a little uncomfortable. And when you break those cycles, even for a short window, you start to rewire them. You build tolerance for discomfort. You learn to regulate your nervous system without using food as a crutch. That's why I say fasting isn't just metabolic work, it's emotional and generational work. When you change your relationship with food, you're literally breaking the chain for your kids and grandkids. They get to see a parent who can sit with feelings, who eats for nourishment and pleasure in balance, not for escape. And it's not always comfortable to see those patterns, but it's liberating on the other side. You come out with more freedom, more presence, and a much healthier why behind every meal. And that awareness alone is worth the journey. Okay, so let's wrap up with a few final thoughts and that actionable homework that I mentioned. So, there you have it. We've covered a lot today and what fasting really is, the different types, especially Dr. Don Clum's functional and rotational approach, the deep benefits, the honest drawbacks and cautions, how to do it wisely, and that powerful awareness that comes when we finally look at our relationship with food. Fasting isn't a magic bullet or a punishment. It's a tool, a powerful ancient God-given tool that helps us step out of constant consumption and into real repair. And when we use it with preparation, respect for our nervous system, and a heart to break generational cycles, it can shift everything. Our metabolism, our energy, our emotions, and even the patterns that we pass down to our kids. My 30-day journey with Dr. Don Clum showed me that the body is far more resilient than we've been led to believe. Those 37 pounds were just the visible part, okay? The real gift was the clarity, the freedom from old food habits, and the deep knowing that the cycle ends with you. And of course, I'm not saying you have to do a 30-day fast. Please don't do that. To start seeing change. Small, consistent, wise steps create big results over time. So your homework this week, start with that gentle 16-8 eating window for the next 5 to 7 days. Journal how you feel, energy, mood, craving, sleep. Notice the patterns that show up. Support yourself with good electrolytes, hydration, and nervous system tools. Then decide if you want to add a rotational day or two, but go at your own pace. And if you're dealing with deeper metabolic issues, chronic symptoms, or just want personalized guidance on building this safely, I'd love to work with you one-on-one. Head over to my website. The link is below or up in the profile, and book a consultation. Okay? We can look at your specific situation and create a plan that fits your life and your body. Okay? If any part of this hit home for you, drop a remark in the comments. Okay? And I read every comment, even after the show. I get to see any comments. Even if someone watches a replay, I can still see the comments. Okay? So if this episode blessed you or gave you some hope and direction, please share it with someone who needs it. Okay? Hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss next Saturday's coffee chat. And let me talk about that. Next Saturday, I don't believe I'm going to be live again. I'm actually traveling to a conference out in Idaho. I'm going to, we call it ECO. It's Exponential Clinical Outcomes. I think it'll be the 9th time I've been to this particular conference. It's a conference I don't like to miss, but and it's so full of great information. But I'll see how the schedule flexes out there. I might be able to do it, but no promises. If you don't see it, I'll post. Watch the feed. I'll post if I'm going to do it or not. Okay. Thank you for spending this morning with me. You're doing important work just by showing up and choosing better for yourself and your family. Your body is designed for healing. Give it the right conditions and it will amaze you. Okay. So until next time, take care of that nervous system. Keep breaking those cycles, and I'll see you right back here on the show. God bless you. Have a beautiful week. So let's close with a short prayer. Father, thank you for the incredible design of our bodies and the healing that comes when we give them rest. Thank you for the awareness fasting brings to our habits, emotions, and generational patterns. Give each of us wisdom to move forward safely, courage to break old cycles, and peace to regulate without turning to food. Protect those starting this journey and bring real breakthrough and hope. We declare that the cycle ends with us by your grace. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, God bless you, friends. Have a great week. I will see you on the next show. Love you guys.